Whatever happened to open air preaching? Some of you say, what is open air preaching? Open air preaching is preaching outside of an institutional church setting, outside of a church building, outside of a church gathering. It's out in the open. It's out in public. It's out among the people. Open air preaching used to be a thing. If you study church history, the Wesleys, founders of Methodism, the Methodist Church. Open air preaching, John Wesley, famous for traveling all over England, the United States, open air preaching. George Whitefield, one of his contemporaries, the most famous man in America in colonial American history, preached in every town in colonial America, they say. George Whitefield. He preached out in the fields. He preached in the countryside. He preached in the town square. He preached out in the open air preaching. There's a great heritage of open air preachers. But as time has gone by, and in more recent history, most preachers today have never open air preached. The Bible encourages this type of bold witness. The Bible tells us to go. Think about the Great Commission. Jesus said, go and share the gospel. Matthew chapter 28, go. The Great Commission says we're to go. Mark chapter 16, go and preach to every creature. I don't know if you haven't noticed, if you're a believer, but lost people aren't exactly knocking down the doors of churches to get in to find out how to be saved. We have to go to share the good news. Now, you don't have to be an open-air preacher to do that. You can just go tell your friends about Jesus. You can just go love people and pray that the Lord would open up a door for you to talk more about Jesus and share your faith with them one-on-one. And that's probably the best way and the most common way that God's going to get the message out to the world is through obedient believers who will talk to people one-on-one. But I also want to challenge some of you to consider, would God call you to stand up and to preach out in public? And when you see somebody on a street corner, maybe you have some open-air preachers that you pass by every once in a while, and some Christians kind of look down on them going, that's not very effective, that's not very good. Don't judge that. Encourage them. Pray for them. You don't know how God can use that type of boldness. And then maybe God will put you in a position where you would do it. For any pastors, preachers watching this, I want to challenge you. Would you consider doing it? When you look at the scriptures, isn't it interesting? Almost all the recorded sermons in Scripture were actually open-air preaching sermons. So, whatever happened to it, kind of gone by the wayside, but I think it's making a comeback. And maybe you'll pray for it to make a comeback. Maybe God will use it to bring in a harvest of souls.